All right, to shed some light on the goings-on, let's cross over to Abuja. Mark, bye.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us in the studio Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who is the Minister for Information and Culture. Alhaji, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Mark. It
was the first time we're talking to you since the President returned from his trip, from his medical vacation. And quite a number of things have happened since he returned and gave his very first speech. A lot of things have come out from his speech. He seemed to be very concerned about, hate speech and the goings-on social media. And just before he returned, we had the then acting president, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, saying that hate speech was going to be considered terrorist, was going to be considered along the lines of terrorism, was going to be considered terrorism. And then shortly after that, we also heard the military saying that they were going to be monitoring what was going on social media. Do you have any idea as to how, this hate speech is going to be curbed, or what action government is going to be taking in that regard?
Well, the government is not making any new laws to curb hate speech. The government is simply relying on existing laws, because under the Terrorism Act of 2010, hate speech was clearly defined. So those who say the government is going to clamp on the freedom of the press, I think are just, exaggerating the issue. Secondly, the report credited to the military that they'll be, monitoring the social media. I think it's a routine thing that military, the security, they do all over the world, monitoring, speeches, monitoring actions, just to balance, just to ensure that there's, no security threat. It does not mean that the military is going to arrest anybody or prosecute anybody because of what he has said on the social media. But there are enough laws in Nigeria to prosecute anybody either for libel, for defamation of character or the like. But the issue about hate speech is quite distinct. And I want to make it clear here that hate speech is not the same thing as freedom of speech or free speech. There's a distinction between hate speech and freedom of expression.
It wasn't quite what, because yesterday on a sister program, Politics Today, we had Garba Shehu, presidential spokesperson, talking about how the presidency might also consider legislation in this regard. But you seem to say that, or you're saying that we have enough laws in that regard already.
Yes, you see, on hate speech, for instance, there's the provision under the Terrorism Act of 2010 that defines what hate speech is. Any speech which is capable of intimidating the populace is declared as hate speech, defined as hate speech. So the law is very clear on what hate speech is. The law is very clear on what is defamation of character. The law is very clear on what is libel. But all over the world, there's a lot of concern about the prevalence and the increasing occurrence of hate speech. And when people go back to, history and see what hate speech has done in countries like Rwanda and the rest, governments are worried all over the world and say, look, what do we do? And our position as a government is that we will never do anything to stifle the press, but we will rather encourage the press to self-regulate.
Why does it look like the Nigerian government is putting out warnings first when it looks like some hate speeches have already set the country, it's making the country a little more agitated than it ought to be? I mean, we were in this country when there were threats of vacation, leave some territory. We're in this country when, other parts of the country were being referred to as a zoo. We've heard different sort of speeches, and that continues to go on ahead. Why does the federal government not take action? Why does it feel the need to warn before it takes action, especially when there are laws already in that regard?
You see, for many reasons. You see, Nigeria is a very complex country. When having a country with multiple values, multiple ethics, multiple religions, the government will rather err on the side of caution. And for quite a while, we also believe that our leaders in various parts of the country would have the courage also to speak out against hate speech. I think it was when they got to an intolerable level that the government said that, look, we are not going to apply sanctions.
So it was deliberate. It wasn't that government didn't notice or that there weren't enough laws to take control of this.
We must, like rightly said, hate speeches didn't start today. I think in the run-up to 2015 election, we witnessed, such bitterness, such hate speeches all over. But like I said, every government, would rather warn first before it imposes, because otherwise you will be accused of favoring one part of the country